In example 11, we are requested to solve 3 cos 2x minus cos x plus 2 is equals to 0 within the range of 0 all the way to 360 degrees. And of course, I think we need to consult our knowledge about the double angle formulae. For 2x, we know, because we have known cos 2x to be equals to the cos squared x minus the sine squared x, which is also equals to the 2 cosine, or rather 2 cosine squared x minus 1, which is also equals to 1 minus 2 sine squared of x. And I think here, because this one is cos squared and we have another cos raised to power 1 here, we choose to use this one because it might be leading us to a quadratic equation. So 3 open bracket 2 cosine squared of x minus 1 minus the cosine of x plus 2 gives us 0. This is going to be 6 cosine squared of x minus 3 minus the cos of x plus 2 equals 0. Of course, if we collect the like terms and help this one to be a quadratic equation, because it is, we're going to have 6 cosine squared of x minus the cos of x minus 1 is equals to 0. And this one is just in line with 6x squared minus x minus 1, giving us equals to 0. And if we may solve this one, whereby we talk about x being equals to cosine squared x, or rather we can even employ y if you want, we're going to have 6x squared, and the two factors are minus 3 and a positive 2, minus 3x plus 2x minus 1, giving us 0. So 3x is common here. We have 2x minus 1 plus 1, 2x minus 1, giving us 0. At this particular point, x is going to be a half, or x is going to be minus a third. But originally, we did not, our x was cosine x. So at that point, we are going to have the cosine of x is minus a third or positive a half. Having reached there, because that's exactly what we need now to talk about what angle whose cosine is a third. Let's see. What angle whose cosine is a third? 1 over 3 is that. Now, shift cos answer gives us 70. This is 70.5 degrees. But you can see the cosine itself is negative, so it is not in that quadrant. All science teachers complain. It is not in that quadrant. It is so much in this quadrant, this 70.5. So x can be equals to 180 minus 70.5. Because 180 minus, or we go back 70.5 degrees, which is equals to 180 minus 70.5 degrees, and you get x is 109.5 degrees. X can also be in this quadrant. That means x can also be 180 plus 70.5 degrees, which is 180 plus 70.5 degrees, which is 250.5 degrees. Those are two values of x when we consider cosine x to be equals to negative a third. But we can also talk about cosine x can also be equals to a half. And let us see what happens when cosine x is a half. Shift cosine a half is 60 degrees. So at this particular point, even if you are to draw another unit circle, we could talk about 60 degrees. So x is equals to 60 degrees. But it's positive. It's positive. Therefore, it is in this quadrant. It is also in that quadrant. So this is also 60 degrees. We cannot go back that direction because that direction is we are going to the negative side. And our range talks about 0 to 360 degrees. So we can only go anti-clockwise, and we are talking about x can also be 360 minus 60 degrees, which is 300 degrees. Yes, we have been able to outline the possible values of x. If we may line them up here, x can be 60 degrees, x can be 109.5 degrees, x can be 250.5 degrees, and x can also be 300 degrees. Please note all these are the possible values of x, having solved the original equation using the double angle formulae. Alternatively, when cosine x is a half, and sometimes cosine x can be a third, it's the same as constructing the graph of y is equals to cosine x and solving them graphically like simultaneous equation with the graph y is equals to negative a third. And let's talk about this is 1 and this is negative 1. We all know that cosine 0 is 1, cosine 90 is 0, cosine 180 is negative 1. This is 180, this is 90, and this is 270. And we have 360 there, whose cosine is 1. So we have a graph. We have the graph that talks about these values. This is y is equals to cosine x. Now within this, we can solve the graph of y is equals to let's say a half. Y is equals to positive a half, and therefore the values of x, you'll find them there. You could talk about 60, it's almost confirmed, and you could also find it over here, which you can find it as 300, it almost confirms. But when x is equals to, let's say, a third, it can also be a third here. I don't know whether this is going to be clear, but let me use a different color. When x is going to be a third, when y, rather, not x but y is going to be a third. When y is going to be a third, then you can already see that is the line we are talking about. Y is equals to negative a third, rather, because you can see cosine x is sometimes negative a third. So you can already see the values of x. You can almost guess. It's something close to 109 as confirmed, and with this one it's something close to 250 degrees. Either way, this is not as accurate, so I would prefer that you use the unit circle, which is very, very accurate. All right.